This is what really scares me. Malta is the size what it is. It's not Australia. And we know that we have certain pockets that are very, very congested. Now we are at the most important time, and we're not late. We're not late at all. Where we need to manage our growth. And this is all about what we read about nurturing more open spaces, okay, controlling certain building in certain areas. I mean, I remember there was an editorial in a Maltese paper, English written, where I referred to Parcheville as our mini Manhattan, and the editorial ridiculed it, and all these usual, keyboard warriors were attacking. What's he talking about? Mini Manhattan, mini this and that. The reality is, if you look at St. Julian's, Parcheville in particular, that's what it's being developed in. Today we have clubs that are penthouse clubs right on top. And a lot of activity and high value added of business is created there. A lot of money is spent in these places. As I said, you have a complete mix. You see? So when you look at the different type of investments, it's important that now we invest widely. And as I said, we are very, very cash rich to an extent. When I mentioned that our economy grew from 7 billion to 25 billion, our household savings, in other words, money in all the banks by Maltese, is about 15.9 billion. Now that's a lot of money. And that is not the business sector. It's not business activity. It's money. Anyone from a pensioner to a student who might have 500 euros in the bank or 100 to somebody who has a few million. Now, that shows you the amount of wealth that was generated within the last years and are there tidily saved in a bank, which shows you why people are ready to invest. Let me explain to you something else. The distribution of wealth, because we talk a lot about people that make a lot of money, that are big and made it big. I know a lot of them, I saw them grow within the last 40 years, who started from a real humble business, from one establishment to God knows what. Some of them, I mean, literally plowing their fields. Today, they have a whole manufacturing
empire.
Unbelievable, I mean, all sorts of businesses, when I look at them, and their children have taken over now many of them, I mean, they didn't even know how to write their name. Literally, they were illiterates, but they had a good business acumen, what I like to refer to as emotional intelligence. Now their children are all with PhDs, all of them very qualified, and they're taking over the business, So when you look at all this, and when I said, I'll go back to your original question, like they're investing like there's no tomorrow, because business brings business. And this is happening, but we need to manage our growth, very, very important. And we need to manage also our investments, where we are investing. Let me give you an example, what I mean when I say managing our growth. We now have 130,000 foreigners working in Malta. This is another misconception. It was used politically, and I'm a bit allergic to these populistic, punchlines, okay? That then are caught up by the same echo chamber, and they're repeated and repeated. One of them is, because the government got all these foreigners. Now, I'm not being defensive for government. I'm being defensive, if anything, for the business sector, okay? Government did not bring any foreigners. It was the business sector that asked government, and they still do, to give permits to bring foreigners to work in Malta, because business confidence, as I said, is all there, is all very prosperous. So if you open anything, whether it's a supermarket, whether it's a boutique, whether if you have an accountancy firm, whether it's a hotel, you need staff. Now, with all the Maltese on unemployment, obviously you're going to go to government and tell government to give you permits to employ foreigners. So it's not true, government got all these foreigners. It's not true at all. We did, if anything, the business sector.
We accepted that reality.
Is a response. It is. Now, I was referring to what we could do to manage the amount of foreigners, because the reality is as I said, the island, the size is what it is. So there are other things we can do to be more efficient. For example, digitalization. In the last budget, we lobbied a lot, and here I'll put on my hat. I sit on a lot of boards and committee. I'm all over the place, literally. And at the Malta Council for Economic Development, we lobbied a lot for digitalization, for grants and help and tax credits by government for digitalization. Because if we digitalize our operations, anything from a hotel, any business, the amount of staff that you won't need and will be replaced with digitalized systems is enormous. I mean, it's very easy to say that a medium-sized hotel could do away with about 6 less employees. Imagine that amount in a lot of businesses, anything, back offices,
But
because...
don't forget, it's important that it's not only foreigners who lose their job as well, if that's the case. Because I had literally our last episode, we spoke about AI and how it's going to take over many jobs.
Yes.
And we spoke about how the Uber CEO, he mentioned that 9 million Uber drivers will lose their job in the next, I think, 5 or 10 years. I can't remember well. 9 million Uber drivers, just from Uber. Can you imagine if we digitalize a whole economy, what will happen to Malta? Okay, we have our problems, we have what to fix, but we also have to see, okay, digitalization, it's going to improve, it's going to help. It helps me, and I'm a small business. But at the same time, if we're going to digitalize businesses, you're going to chop off a lot of employment. And that doesn't only dedicate the foreign aspect, the foreigners aspect, it also dedicates the national aspect of us. So it does help in a way, but it's also harming us in a way as well.
I can't say how broad AI is going to affect, and I don't think anybody really knows. But if you look back history, there's always been other jobs that took over jobs that didn't remain popular anymore. I mean, a story I remember when I was young, telling me in the days when they used to ride horses, and all those handcrafted saddles and all the leather stuff you needed for a horse. And they all said, with cars, they're going to be out of business. The reality isn't. They had more business because they ended up doing all the leather for the cars in those days, which were mainly handmade, etc. You see? So there's always displacement. It will go somewhere else.